Hello po sa inyong lahat at maligayang pagbabalik sa ating panibagong video dito sa paborito nating channel. Yay! Ayan, andito na naman tayo. And of course, we are on to another video tutorial. Kasama pa rin ng ating RPMS serye 2023. Ayan, medyo natagalan si Teacher Racky para sa next episode. Nahirapan ako mag-decide kung paano magkulot na naman ang buhok ko. Anyway, ayan. So, we're on to objective number 5 na po. Kamusta na po ang inyong mga classroom observations? Nakaraos na ba tayo ng third quarter? Kung hindi pa, panoorin natin ang mga videos na to for more guidance and information. But of course, bago tayo mag-umpisa niyan, padaanin muna natin ang ating nakagawian ng pa-shoutout. Mabilis lang to kasi konti lang to. I would like to start with Sir Jose Brazil Vencito. Hello po, Teacher Racky. Thanks po sa objective number 4. You're welcome po. Another one from Ma'am Maria Fe Gonzalez. Hello po. Thank you po. Malaking tulong po ito, lalo na sa katulad kong checker. And from Ma'am Fevelin Taborada. Thank you, Teacher Racky, from Dumingag, CES, SSES, Zamboanga del Sur, Mindanao. Hello po sa inyong lahat. Ang layo ng nararating ni Teacher Racky. Nakakarating na ng Mindanao. And of course, we have from Ma'am Cecilia Puertoriano. Thanks much, Teacher Racky. Shout out again sa mga committed at masisipag na teacher ng Gindapunan Elementary School, Palo 3 District. Hello po sa inyong lahat, Gindapunan Elementary School. Thank you for watching. And from Ma'am Bernadette Irma Cabalya, thank you so much po. You're welcome, as always, Ma'am. From Ma'am Eufemia Dolores, gracias, Teacher Racky, y Dios te bendiga. Tama ba? Sabi niya, thank you, Teacher Racky, and God bless you. God bless you too po. And from Gloria Comin, thank you, Teacher Racky, for your help. You're welcome po. From Ma'am Marisa Chavez, thank you so much, Teacher Racky, for the information on objective number 4. Very well said and explained. God bless. Thank you. And from Girl 15, thank you for your help. You're welcome, little girl. From Ma'am Jopina Saure, hello, Teacher Racky. Thank you for the informative updates regarding RPMS. You're all very much welcome po. Natutuwa ako kasi parang wala akong na-receive na comment na how to avail po free template. Ayan, naintindihan na natin lahat kung paano mag-avail ng free template. And speaking of free template, our templates are still available. Ano po? Pwede pa rin po kayong mag-request. We still have the different RPMS portfolio, both for proficient and highly proficient teachers. We still have the different IPCRF materials, which includes the IPCRF development plan. We also have the COT rating sheet and the COT inter-observer agreement form. Meron pa rin po tayong mid-year review form, both for proficient and highly proficient teachers, and of course, our IPCRF parts 1 to 4. Ayan po. Available pa rin po yan. If you want to avail free templates, all you have to do is do a screenshot of your subscription to this channel, send it through a message sa ating FB page. Ayan po, Teacher Racky FB page. I-message niyo po ako. Ano po? Para po, doon po ako nagre-reply sa messages. Okay, so that's it. So, without further ado, let's go straight to our objective number 5. Back again sa ating discussion ng RPMS tool for Teacher 1 to 3 or Proficient Teachers for school year 2022 to 2023. This is the video tutorial for each objective of this RPMS tool. So for this video, we are going to discuss about objective number 5, manage learner behavior constructively by applying positive and non-violent discipline to ensure learning-focused environment. So for this objective, we have to make sure that we were able to show that we manage how our learners behave, and it should be constructively. Paano magiging constructive? We have to apply positive and non-violent discipline para maibalik natin ang focus ni learner sa learning, sa pagkatuto. Okay? So, this is under KRA number 2, Learning Environment and Diversity of Learners. So, objective number 5, manage learner behavior constructively by applying positive and nonviolent discipline to ensure learning focused environment. The means of verification is our classroom observation tool, waiting sheets, or inter-observer agreement forms. Depende po kung ilan ang nag-observe sa atin. But, I would like to take note of this. I would like you to take note of this, that this objective or this classroom observable indicator should not reflect on your lesson plan. This is not required to reflect in your lesson plan. Hindi po kailangang makita ito sa lesson plan. This should manifest on your lesson delivery or the actual classroom observation. Ipapakita lang po natin sa classroom observation, pero there's no way that we can show this sa lesson plan. Hindi po ito makikita sa lesson plan. This is on our actual execution of our lesson in the classroom. Okay? So, balikan lang natin yung guidelines for classroom observation. For school year 2022 to 2023, itong ginagawa po natin, only 2 classroom observations are required. That is for the 3rd and 4th quarter only. Then we'll proceed to the schedule and distribution of classroom observable indicators across quarters for proficient teachers. Ang objective number 5 po is also our classroom observable indicator number 5. So, ibig sabihin, ito po ay i-rate lang during the 3rd quarter classroom observation. It doesn't need to show on our 4th quarter classroom observation kasi hindi po siya i-rate doon. Dito lang siya sa 3rd quarter i-rate. So, we only need 1 rating sheet as means of verification for this objective. So, ito lang yung ating magiging rating sheet. Isa lang po. So, ang ating classroom observable indicator, that's number 5, manage learner behavior constructively by applying positive and non-violent discipline to ensure learning-focused environments. And, katulad ng dati, ang ating aim, ang ating goal is to get the highest possible score. So, paano ba tayo makakakuha ng highest possible score? For this objective, we can be guided by PPST 2.6.2, the PPST resource package. That is a PPST 2.6.2 or Module 5. So, under the note, PPST Resource Package Module 5 offers illustrative and instructive information that can help creators achieve the objective. So, yun po ang magiging guide natin, ang PPST Resource Package Module 5, kung paano natin i-execute ang classroom observable indicator na ito. So, this is the PPST Resource Package Module 5, manage learner behavior constructively by applying positive and nonviolent discipline to ensure learning-focused environments. Katulad po ng sabi ko dati, this PPST resource package is downloadable. Makukuha po natin to sa internet. I suggest that you take time to download these different kinds of PPST resource package modules at para pwede nating balik-balikan at tingnan for guides and for our execution in our classroom observation and sa ating regular classroom lesson na rin. So, for this module, we will explore some teaching practices focusing on the application of positive and nonviolent discipline. To ensure classroom managers, we do have the responsibility to equip our learners with skills to build their sense of community, to improve academic performance, and to prepare them to be productive individuals. With positive and nonviolent discipline, our learners will see a connection among their behavior, the personal consequences, and the impact of their actions to others. Here, we work as a team and we will provide realistic and helpful illustration of practice on managing learner behavior constructively by applying positive and nonviolent discipline to ensure learning-focused environment anchored in the Philippines Professional Standard for Teachers or PPST to assist in the improvement of your current practice. So, let us start with a key concept for this objective. So we have the learner behavior. This refers to the learner's manner of conducting himself or herself involving action and response to stimulation. It emphasizes the crucial link between the way in which learners learn and their social knowledge and behavior. Another one is a positive and nonviolent discipline. Ano ba to? This involves the constructive discipline through nonviolent, respectful, and diplomatic means. It is a way of disciplining a learner or managing learner behavior through dialogue and counseling. It avoids the use of punishment such as spanking, verbal abuse, and humiliation. Ito yung tinatawag ng mga positive and violent discipline. Walang punishment, katulad ng spanking, verbal abuse, or humiliation. And the last one is the learning-focused environment. This refers to a classroom atmosphere that encourages maximum learner participation free from disruptions by unpleasant learners' behavior. Okay, so welcome to our support group. It always feels great to help teachers who would like to improve their practices. Let me introduce Teacher Angel to you. Teacher Angel is handling grade 4 classes. She will share with us one of her experiences on management of learner behavior. Let us see how we can help Teacher Angel on her concern. In this particular incident, she talked to her students and told them not to do things that may affect their grades. Here are the details of what happened inside her class. I was checking the attendance when I noticed that 3 learners were absent. One of their classmates told me that earlier that day he saw the 3 learners playing games at a computer shop outside the school. I got worried because they were the same learners who failed in my subject during the previous quarter. I decided to inform the learner's advisor about the incident. The following day, the 3 learners attended my class. I continued with my planned activities for the day. I requested the 3 learners go with me to the faculty room after our class period. When we got there, I asked them why they were absent the previous day. One of the boys told me that they had to finish a project given by another teacher. I knew that they were not telling the truth, because prior to the meeting, I already investigated the reason for their absence from my class. With a caring voice, I encouraged them to confide in me the real reason for their absence in my class. With reluctance, they slowly opened up the truth. In a gentle yet firm voice, I advised them not to do it again. Otherwise, their parents would be called to the guidance office for a conference. I also reminded them that if they incur more absences, they might get failing grades again. Let's analyze this situation of Teacher Angel by answering disproving questions. So we have here a few questions that you might want to answer yourself. As a teacher, how would you react on this? When is the right time to talk to learners who misbehave in the class? Kailan nyo kadalasan kinakausap ang ating mga students who misbehave in the class? Bakit? Do you think it is important to ask learners the reason why they preferred to play computer games rather than to attend their class? Tama ba that we ask our learners? Is it important? Do you think Teacher Angel was able to manage learners' behavior by telling them that they might fail in their subject or their parents would be called to the guidance office? Tama ba ang ginawa ni Teacher Angel? That was she able to manage learners' behavior? Do you think that that way is good enough to manage learners' behavior? Na tinabihan niyang they might fail in the subject and their parents would be called to the guidance office. Do you think she was right on doing so? Why or why not? If you were Teacher Angel, how would you demonstrate positive and nonviolent discipline in dealing with the issue? So meron tayong kanya-kanyang abilidad, kanya-kanyang technique on handling learners who are misbehaving in our class. So if you were Teacher Angel, paano nyo to aaksyonan? So there are suggestions for improvement on Teacher Angel's case. Number 1, effective teachers choose positive and nonviolent discipline that encourages positive behavior and motivate learners to feel good about themselves and the decisions they make. Okay, so we can only be considered effective teachers if we were able to choose positive and nonviolent discipline for our learners that misbehave in our class. Below are suggestions that will aid you in your practice. Number 1, talk to the learner immediately after class. This is important to stop the misbehavior and reestablish positive discipline. Show compassion and encouragement. Hindi natin papagalitan, hindi natin kakausapin ang ating mga estudyante para pagalitan. We should show compassion and encouragement to make our learners feel that they are important. Next one, identify the reasons behind the learner's behavior by asking them why they behave that way. So tama yung ginawa ni Teacher Angel. Encourage our students to tell us why. Knowing how they feel will help you understand why they did such action. They might have been seeking attention. Listen and let them feel safe and respected by not sharing with others what they have told you. Importante that the learners gain trust. We gain the trust of our learners, diba? Na pag nagsabi sila sa atin, it will be confidential. Your learners confided in you because they trust you. Another one, do not tell your learners that they will fail if they do not change their behavior. That sounds like a threat. Elicit from them the possible consequences of the action. Then guide them in finding solutions to the problem. Do not threaten our student. And last one, transforming your learner's behavior cannot be done overnight. Tanggapin natin tong katotohanan na to. There must be clear and consistent communication. After talking to your learner after the incident, you should make a follow-up meeting, conversation with them. Make sure you build a mutually respectful relationship with your learner, and that will surely help in solving the problem through positive and non-violent discipline. So we don't stop with talking to our learners one time. Dapat laging may follow-up, and that we should be able to show our learners that we are actually monitoring the result of your meeting, di ba? Minomonitor natin, and we are personally putting action into it. May personal involvement tayo. So they have to see that. So let us try the different illustrations of practice in the PPST resource package. Managing learner behavior is not an easy task. Even the most experienced teacher knows that positive discipline does not just happen overnight. Managing learner behavior is a learned skill which every teacher must master. Classroom management begins even before the learners enter the classroom. Teachers have their own way of managing their learners' behavior, but it has to be kept in your mind that learners need to feel valued and respected as individuals. Teachers must show them that they have honest interest in each one of the learners, not just as a class, but also as individuals. Sometimes learners go against the rules because they do not see that what they are doing is wrong. Others do it to test how far teachers can control them. There are many potential influences on learner behavior and many factors that can lead to challenging behavior that teachers have to deal with. So there are different factors leading to misbehavior. Number one, biophysical. These are medical conditions or disabilities. Baka may medical condition talaga yung ating mga students. That's why they are misbehaving. Another factor is psychological. Emotional trauma or lack of social skills. Hindi sila sanay makipag-socialize. Historical community. Student transferee from conflict area who has difficulty adjusting to his or her new learning environment. Pwedeng historical community ang factor ng misbehavior ng ating mga estudyante. This is common on student transferees. Learner group dynamics. Example is bullying and teasing, cliques or learner apathy or hostility. Minsan, nadadala sila ng kanilang mga kagrupo or kabarkada, okay? Especially during when they're bullying and teasing others. Minsan, nakukuha lang nila, napapagaya lang din sila. And another one, environmental. The level of classroom noise or classroom seating arrangement. So, minsan, ito din ang factor, di ba? Pag we cannot control the noise inside the classroom, ang tendency lahat na sila mag-iingay na. Or, it depends on the seating arrangement din. Pag nagkasama-sama yung medyo mga madadaldal, so that would cause a problem, di ba? Another one is classroom organization issues. Inconsistent routines, inadequate materials, or ignorance to individual differences, okay? And another one is the teacher behavior. That's another factor. Boring or disorganized lessons, overreaction to misbehavior, or over-reliance on consequences of learners' actions. Minsan kaya nagmi-misbehave ang ating mga estudyante is maybe they find the class or the lesson boring. We're not able to catch their interest. So, nagkakaroon sila ng pagkakataon to act differently kasi nabobore sila eh. Okay? Now, how do we do it? Paano natin yun aayusin? Number one, be consistent. Kailangan, when we establish a rule, we establish it on the very first day. And we should be able to involve our learners in formulating those rules so that they will be responsible to stick to the rules. Kasama sila sa pag-establish ng mga rules. Isama natin sila para they would feel more responsible. Kasi kasama sila sa gumawa nun. Another one, make sure that learners understand the rules. So you should not only put it on the board, hindi lang yan i-display dyan sa wall. Make sure that each learners understand every rules. Another one, be fair in applying the rules. Dapat the rules goes for all, hindi lang sa iilan, not only for the chosen few. Be prepared for the learners who will test the rules. Meron mga ganyang estudyante na susubukan nila ang ating limit. Okay, let the learners feel in a gentle way that you are the authority in the class. Do not threaten learners with a consequence. Huwag natin silang i-threaten, huwag natin silang takutin unless you are ready to carry it out. Learners will review you as inconsistent if you fail to do what you say. Pag nag-threaten tayo ng estudyante at hindi natin natupad yun or nagawa yun, then we will not gain respect from our students. Another one, establish trust. to the learners for them to open up honestly. So you must establish the trust from your learners para makapag-open up. Otherwise, they will not open up if they don't trust you enough. Next one, handle any behavioral problem consistently. When it occurs to avoid learners' disciplinary action, we should be consistent in handling behavioral problem. Next one, show a sincere interest in all your learners. Treat each one of them with respect. Use his or her name when giving praise. It pleases them to hear the name used in a good light. Okay? So, hindi lang dapat natin sila napapansin pag nagmi-misbehave sila. They should also feel that they are being recognized as well with their good deeds. Next one, implement well-planned lessons. Know what to teach and how to teach it. Be well prepared when facing your learners so that your learners won't get bored and you will be able to catch their interest to the lesson. And the last one, be flexible. Things do not always happen the way you plan them. So be flexible for any changes that might happen along the way. So let us write this different illustration of practice. Number one, transcript of teacher-learner consultation. In the situation below, the teacher was having a group activity in his class when suddenly a commotion started at the back. He found out that two of his learners were fighting. According to their classmates, learner A started teasing learner B. Learner B got angry and punched learner A. Then they threw punches at each other. The teacher privately talked to each learner immediately and separately. Here is a transcript of the dialogue with learner B. So on the first part, the teacher listens attentively to the learner. So we will, on that first part, we will try to ask the learners what exactly happened or why that happened at all. And then in the second part, the teacher reminds the learner of the class rules, which they have created for themselves. Because we were able to establish classroom rules with them, and we were able to explain each rules and make them understand each rules, we are now going to remind them of the class rules that you have established. And then, without being judgmental, the teacher asks the questions calmly and lets the learner realize his or her mistakes. Okay? So you let your students realize without being judgmental of what he did. Ask the learner calmly and let them realize their mistakes. And then, the teacher involves the learner in finding ways to resolve the issue. He lets the learner feel that he or she can be trusted in making sound decisions for himself or herself. So you ask the learners, how are we going to resolve this issue? You let your learners find ways to resolve the problem or the issue. Let the solution comes from the learner. You may encounter learners who are aggressive. Knowing what causes aggressive behavior among learners is very important in order for you to identify which strategy to use in dealing with them. In general, teachers typically respond in one of two ways, authoritatively or through positive discipline. The highlighted part of the transcript exemplifies dealing with the aggressive learner using positive discipline. Below are some suggestions on how you could do that. Number one, listen to your students attentively and don't get angry. Never get angry in front of your students. You have to show them that you are calm but you are the authority. Next one, remind them of the class rules which they have created for themselves. Remind them that they established these rules, so they have to follow it. Let them realize their mistakes without being judgmental. Let us never be judgmental to our students. Let us make them realize what they have done wrong without judging their personality. Involve the students in finding ways to resolve the issue. It is very important that you ask them how to come up with a solution. What solution can they suggest to resolve the issue? Let the suggestions, let the ideas come from the learners. And lastly, let them feel that you trust them in making sound decisions for themselves, okay? You have to show them that you trust them enough, that their decisions is worthy of your trust, and that you trust them to do what they say. The illustration of practice is about a learner wandering around. A learner who has an extremely high energy level acts impulsively and distracts other learners is another challenging situation in our classroom that we need to deal with. If you have this kind of learner, it is important to keep in mind that most of the time, this learner is not aware that he or she is misbehaving. Here is another situation where the teacher is able to manage the learner behavior constructively by applying positive discipline. John in Teacher Leia's grade 1 class refuses to sit down. He roams around while Teacher Leia reads a story. He is distracting other children in the class. Teacher Leia tells the class that there will be a game after her reading of the story. She makes sure that John hears what she said to get his attention. And she is right. John looks at her. But you have to listen very carefully before you could join the game later, she adds. John remains standing and keeps on teasing his classmates. Teacher Leia announces that winners from the game will be awarded. John's eyes get big and he looks interested with what he just heard. He goes to his chair and begins to listen to his teacher. Teacher Leia approaches him and tells him that he will be joining the game later. She encourages him to listen very carefully so he could answer the questions. John excitedly nods and smiles at her. The scenario exemplifies a suggested strategy in managing an overactive pupil inside a classroom. John has an extremely high energy level and is distracting his classmates. You probably may have noticed that Teacher Leia did not reprimand him for roaming around. Instead, she caught his attention by simply saying something that interests him, a game. So how do we do it? How do we manage our learners roaming around or wandering around? Call learners' names in a polite manner. Refocus learners' attention by restating relevant points and asking them to summarize the main point. You can also ask them if they have questions about the lesson. This may prompt them to go back to their desk and listen. If step numbers 2 and 3 do not work, approach him or her without getting others' attention. In 5 to 10 seconds, instruct him or her to be the class monitor of learners who are wandering around. Give him responsibility. Hello, teacher, that was really challenging. We are sure you are able to relate with the given classroom scenarios. We have to always remember that our overactive, hyperactive learners should not disrupt our opportunity to teach and other learners' opportunity to learn. To help you more, we have some tips from an expert to help you manage this kind of situation. So how do they usually do it? Identify the source of the learner's high-level activity. So learners' excess energy might emanate from attention deficit disorder. Sometimes the lack of attention is the reason why learners misbehave this way. Adjust your classroom standard. You may get away from the traditional classroom setup where learners are seated while the teacher is discussing. Allow your learner to stay or sit where he or she is comfortable to learn for as long as he or she does not disrupt other learners. Give the learner a break. An overactive, hyperactive learner gets restless sooner than other learners inside the classroom. Allow him or her to have a break, a quiet moment when he or she can compose himself or herself. Another one, provide opportunities for the learner to release excess energy. Engage him or her in constructive activities. Give them activities where they can release their excess energy. And another one, ticket police. Provide your learner with a limited number of tickets. Have an engagement with a learner that whenever he or she has to leave his or her seat, he or she needs to give you one ticket. If the learner runs out of ticket, he or she will not be allowed to leave his or her seat anymore. Another illustration of practice number 3, taking one's personal belongings. Our responsibility with our learners does not end inside the classroom. Wherever they are, whatever they do, we have a duty to watch over the behavior inside the school. The next situation happens in the school canteen during lunch break. Since our accountability for our learners does not stop during break time, we need to monitor their behavior during this time too. While Teacher John is having lunch in the school canteen, one of his learners, Sophia, approaches him and tells him that her classmate Mix took her lunch and ate it without her permission. Sophia says she has nothing to eat and that she does not have money to buy food anymore. Teacher John buys food for Sophia and reassures her that he will talk to Mix. Privately, Teacher John talks to Mix. He asks him how he is doing. Mix says he's doing fine but is having difficulty in some subjects. He tells him that it's good to hear that he is fine. Teacher John encourages him to be more active in class and be open to his subject teachers about his concern and difficulty in other subjects. Then, gently, he inquires about Sophia's lunch. Mix smiles and looks down on the floor. He says it was just a joke for Sophia. Teacher John explains to him that it was not a good joke, that taking another's belongings, whether things, money, or food, is a violation of another's right. He clearly explained to him the concept of ownership. He asked him how he would feel if his classmates take something that belongs to him. He lets him think for a while and asked him how he could show respect for another's belongings. This is another demonstration of management of learners' behavior. In this scenario, Teacher John shows us that we can help our learner realize his mistakes without making him feel bad about himself. Teacher John wants to make sure that Mix will not be humiliated in front of other learners. That is why he talked to him without the presence of other learners. He is very diplomatic and never raises his voice while speaking. He makes Mix feel at ease and comfortable by asking him how he was doing. So how do we do it? If you are sure who took the item, talk to the student privately after class. Ask him or her if there is a reason he or she needed the money, food, or cell phone, or any item. Listen and understand the problem the learner may have. And then let the learner understand the idea of ownership. Make him or her realize that taking things that belong to others is wrong. If you are not sure who took the item, give the taker the opportunity to return it and save face. Say to the class, Whoever found Angel's wallet or cell phone needs to return it. Or say, everybody, please look in your bag to see if Angel's wallet or cell phone was accidentally put in it. Do not label the learner bad or thief. Ask yourself why the behavior occurred. What personal problems could the learner be having? Is the learner stealing to get attention? Deal with the learner with kindness and understanding. The suggested activities could be unforgettable for his learners because the teacher made use of the difficult situation to work to his advantage. Difficult circumstances challenge us to become innovative for the sake of our learners. Many successful stories inspire us to keep going. Whatever classroom structure is given to us, resilient and resourceful Filipino teachers, we can always manage to provide meaningful, hands-on activities that lead to new discoveries for our learners. Positive and nonviolent discipline is emphasized in the scenario when Teacher John explains the rules of behavior, which is the golden rule. Whatever the motivation for stealing, when responding to a theft, you have 3 goals: to return the item to its owner, to identify the guilty learner, and to respond to him or her with firmness and understanding. And of course, allow the learner to reflect and realize the importance of respect for others' belongings. Because this kind of incident may create conflict and distrust among learners, you need to deal with the situation promptly and sensitively. There are different other illustrations of practice that we may encounter in our everyday classroom activities. Number 1, talking out of turn or being talkative. Marami nito. There are lots of students that are like this. So how do we deal with it? Stop talking mid-sentence and look in a non-aggressive way at the learner making the noise. Peer pressure makes him or her quiet. Go near the learner. Tap quietly on the desk and mime zip lips. Remain in the area for a little while to keep him or her quiet. If this happens frequently, you may always isolate the learner and keep him or her in front of you, where you can keep an eye on him or her. If this persists, talk to the learner and remind him or her of the value of keeping quiet and respecting others who are talking. If this can't be stopped despite your repeated attempts to quiet him or her down, then it is time to call in the parents. With the parents and learner, you can probably figure out why the learner is so talkative and find a solution to the problem. Another one, out of seat. There are a lot of how do we deal with it. Number 1, call the learner's name in a polite manner. And then refocus the learner's attention by restating relevant point and asking him or her to summarize the main point. Give him or her your attention. And then ask the learner if he or she has questions about the lesson. This may prompt him to go back to his or her desk and listen. If the second and third steps do not work, approach him or her without getting others' attention. And in 5 to 10 seconds, instruct him or her to be the class monitor of learners who are wandering around. Another one, sleeping in class. We might encounter students who sleeps in our class. How do we deal with it? Get the rest of the class started on an activity that occupies them while you quietly pat the sleeping learner on the arm or shoulder to wake him or her. Or begin the dialogue not with a demand that he or she stays awake, but rather with a question about whether or not he or she is doing well. Or ask if he or she needs a drink or needs to stand up for a bit. It lets him or her know that you understand he or she is not falling asleep on purpose. Another one is the verbal and physical aggression. When learners become verbally and physically aggressive, you stay cool and calm. By waiting and observing, you can assess the situation and the behavior of the learners. So how do we deal with it? Keep calm to gain control of the situation. Stand firmly and observe the aggressing learner and show the class you are in control. You stay far enough away to keep an eye on all your learners. Keep your other learners from giving comments, otherwise they will involve themselves with the angry learner. Allow the learner to cool off. Continue with the discussion or activity until you know the learner is ready to listen. When he or she is in a calm emotional state, talk to the learner. Document the learner's behavior. Severe misbehavior must be reported to parents, guidance counselor, and school head. Unless the behavior is physically aggressive, handle it yourself. Number 5, disrespecting a teacher. Well, how do we handle it? Do not yell, scold, or admonish, lecture, or get even with a learner if he or she disrespects or talks back at you. Take a deep breath to control any angry feelings rising inside you. Do not say any word, but maintain eye contact with the learner and wait. End the situation as quickly as possible. Your refusal to react will leave the learner speechless. Talk to the learner when he or she is calm and deliver the logical consequences of his or her action. For overt disrespect, document the incident and notify the parents, the guidance counselor, or the school head. If you allow the above steps, even the most stubborn learner will be affected by his or her mistake. The next thing to follow is receiving a sincere and voluntary apology. Number 6, public display of affection. It is common for high school learners to show public display of affection or PDA in class. How do we handle this?
Go near the students who are showing PDA in class. Stay there for a while until they become aware that you're actually sending them the message, stop your cuddling. Give the class a group activity and allocate a couple to different groups to divert their attention. You may talk to them individually and privately after class, or set a clear policy and consequences. Clear expectation for learner behavior evidence. Standards of conduct are clear to all learners and have modest impact on learning. These are other illustration of practice. Using cell phone during direct instruction. Habitual failure in submitting assignments or homeworks. Maraming ganito. Tardiness and cheating. So these are the misbehavior of learners that we may frequently encounter in our class. So understanding the situation and knowing how to act on it is very important for us teachers so that we can respond to it in a positive and non-violent way. And that is the idea of this objective. Now, after having understanding all that scenarios and illustration of practices, we are now confident that we can get the highest possible score for this classroom observable indicator. So this is the example of our rating sheet where we get 7 rating for classroom observable indicator. We also have to make sure that we have that note from our observer that we were able to meet the objective within the allotted time, because that will be that would reflect on our rating for the efficiency of this objective. Now, to compute for our IPCRF rating, we only need 1 rating sheet, and that is the one we had for the 3rd quarter classroom observation. Okay, so because we aim for the highest possible score, we got 7, then that is equal to a 5 for the rating for quality. And then because of the note of our rater that we were able to meet the objective for in the allotted time, we got RPMS 5-point scale rating 5, and that is 5 points for efficiency. Now we are ready to transfer that to our RPMS portfolio. So ito na yung RPMS portfolio natin. We already had one from objective 1, and we have MOV for objective 2, objective 3, objective 4, and now we are ready for objective 5. Okay, so linagay ko na dito yung ating rating sheet for objective 5, and I put on annotation for objective 5, which is another classroom observable indicator required only during COT1 or the 3rd quarter classroom observation. I got a rating of 7, which is equivalent to 5 points in the IPCRF rating under quality. Having a note from my observer that I have met the objective within the allotted time gives me a score of 5 points under the efficiency. So okay na ang ating RPMS portfolio. We go to our IPCRF rating sheet. So for objective number 5, i-encode lang natin yung ating points, which is 7. Then that would automatically compute. Kung mapapansin nyo, naka-grayscale yung ating COT2 kasi hindi i-rate sa 4th quarter classroom observation ang objective na to. So we get quality, a point of 5. And then we type in our score for efficiency, which is also 5. That gives us the average and our IPCRF score, which automatically reflects on our part 1 of our rating sheet. Ayan, may score na yan. And that would also reflect on the summary sheet. Ayan, meron na tayong score sa ating summary sheet. Okay? So, that's it. Okay na ang ating objective number 5 and the RPMS portfolio and the IPCRF rating sheet.
So, ayan na nga po ang kabuuan ng ating Objective 5 video. Sana po ay nadagdagan muli ang inyong kaalaman at kung paano i-execute ang Classroom Observable Indicator na ito. So katulad po ng sabi ko, although it is a Classroom Observable Indicator, hindi po siya kailangang mag-manifest sa ating lesson plan. Okay? Kasi ang objective number 5 po, i-rate po tayo according to how we manage the behavior of our learner. Kailangan makita po ito during our classroom observation. So alam na natin yan, kayang-kaya na natin yan, mga artista naman tayo mga teacher eh. So mag-come up lang tayo sa isang scenario na merong nag-misbehave na estudyante and how we treat them positively and with non-violent reaction. or discipline, non-violent discipline, okay? Para ibalik yung focus ni learner sa learning, okay? So, kailangan lang maipakita natin yan during our classroom observation. Hindi kailangang lumabas na lesson plan. Wala po yan sa part ng lesson plan natin. Okay? So, that's it for our video for today. Sana po nagustuhan nyo. And please hit that like button if you like the video. At pakihit na rin yung subscribe button kung di pa kayo nakasubscribe. And don't forget to hit the notification bell to bell all para po lagi kayong notify every time may bago tayong update dahil diretso pa rin ang ating RPMS serye hanggang matapos natin ang RPMS tool for Proficient Teacher. Then we proceed to the RPMS tool for Highly Proficient Teachers. Maraming salamat po ulit sa inyong napakainit na suporta. Thank you so much. God bless you all and keep safe always.